Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast.
Taking
And
time
now,
behind my back.
stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. With me, I got my guy, Kay, and we got a good episode for y'all because we're coming off of a win, Kay. I'm feeling good right now. Listen, a lot has been going on these last few days with the Heat. I know folks was getting pissed off, but then they was getting happy, then pissed off again. It was a whole emotional roller coaster, and there was a couple games here and there that I know got people worked up. First off, we played Denver. That was the game lead after that last episode, and we ended up losing that. Which, listen, let's be real, it's Denver. You know, those L's on their home court are always going to be inevitable during the regular season. It is what it is. So I'm not worried about that. But then we go into Minnesota and handle business there, thanks to Spo doing what he's capable of doing, and that's drawing up these crazy plays where we end up seeing Rozier throwing that game-winning pass to Jovic for the win. Then, while Spo got us a win, you then look at that game against Detroit. And listen, man, I ain't gonna lie. I've had a long week, so I fell asleep with like a minute left in the. It was like a minute 40 something left in the game. The Heat were down by like 8 or so. And I wake up the next day, I hear the Heat lost, which I wasn't surprised about because I saw the score with time running out, like a minute 40. So I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you know, Detroit basically had it. So, and people are like, oh, Spo is this, Spo is that. I got a DM from a friend inviting me to a space titled Spo Osama bin Laden Strikes Again. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe they're mad that Spo didn't play someone. I don't know. Because I'm used to people just hating on Spo game after game after game whenever we lose. So I'm like, it's probably having something to do with that. But then, you know, later on in the daytime, like in the afternoon, I finally checked my phone to see how the Heat lost. And I see it's because Spo called a timeout when they didn't even have one. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So people are actually hating on Spo for something he actually did, not because, oh, he didn't play this guy in. So I'm like, okay, that explains the hate now. Because I'm so used to this stuff. I'm so used to the Spo slander after every single game. So this was like new for me, seeing that it was actually his fault. Like, genuinely was. I'm not saying Spo isn't worthy of any of the blame. Like, he has his moments here and there where he could have done stuff differently in certain L's. But like, I'm like, oh, this is like 100% genuinely his fault. So there was that. And then we go into this game against Indiana. I don't know what to expect. Everybody's been heated with Bam because you've seen his performance this season, but he goes out and has a very good game. Almost has a 30-point triple-double. Shout outs to my guy because you know what? It's, in my opinion, at least, I know people are already turning on the dude, but it's just a slump. You know, he's going to get through it. And, you know, I got my faith in him. And a lot of people stepped up during last night's game. I also want to give my flowers to Tyler because while last night he didn't have like a huge game, you know, I can't help but talk about that game against Detroit. You know, the 10 triples and everything, 40 points, keeping the Heat still in the game. So shout outs to him for really holding it down for this team throughout this beginning, you know, first few games of the season. But overall, man, like I know we're still below 500. We are below 500 still, right? I don't like looking at the standings. So I know right now people are heated about that, but listen, we're taking it game by game and we just go from there with it. Okay, what's your thoughts?
5-minute monologue, Joe. 5-minute monologue. Anyway, nah, man. I mean, you kind of said it. You pointed to the Denver loss. It looks like a blowout on paper, but I don't want to hear what haters got to say. Denver shot the ball extremely well. We're talking 50% from three, I think, and 60% from the field. The Miami Heat could have helped themselves by increasing the effort, which you immediately saw increase in the following game. So those are the building blocks that it takes of a season, especially early on here, for you to see. What you like to see as a team make the adjustments and actually stick to them, which is something that we've seen happen over the course of the following 3 or 4 games afterward. But you bring up an interesting point. I'm not going to speak about the Detroit thing that's been spoke about ad nauseum, because I could make a case that, you know, everybody's going to say Terry Rozier switch. He got to be more aware. He got to be more aware. Well, my thing is, if you're Bam Adebayo and you're all-world defender and you're basically sending, you know, quiet shots every year about how you're not considered for the defensive player of the year, in that moment, on that play, you cannot allow Durant to get a free run to the basket. You just can't. You have to be more aware of that. You're too great for that. That's all I'm saying. In certain moments, greatness peaks his head above all others and, you know, succeeds. Like you look at defensive ends in the NFL, the National Football League, you know, you take a TJ Watt, you take a Myles Garrett, you take a, you know, a D Law, when things are at their highest, Highsmith, even this year for the Steelers, you look at these guys when the moments at their most pivotal, I mean, yeah, they're getting double team, triple team, scheme for all game long. But when your team needs a play, 3 guys can't keep them from getting the pressure that they need. And in that moment, that's that type of moment for the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo has to fight through that screen, has to get around, has to muck it up, has to do something from letting Durant get a free run to the cup like that. So I can make that case too, while Spo was guilty of actually calling a timeout that he didn't have. So, you know, we saw that. But at the end of the day, it's Spo, man. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you're going to allow anybody to room to fuck up, it's Spo. Now, you like what you saw from the Miami Heat in that game. The offense took a while to come on, but once it did, they came back. So third quarter, but that was leading up to some. But like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I already have. Now, what's interesting, though, is when you look at the wins in Minnesota and the latest win in Indiana, that's different. The Miami Heat traditionally don't win in Minnesota, and they're not. I think it's like 13-46 or something. I heard you say or something crazy like that in Indiana through their history. So it's like they don't typically win in Indiana either. So to have them win in Indiana and in Minnesota in less than a week with a part-time Jimmy Butler for health and, you know, him figuring it out, and a part-time Bam Adebayo because he's figuring it out, and Terry Rozier having to shake off whatever funk he was in, that's impressive. That's impressive. We haven't turned the corner. I'm just saying that's different. Now, a couple of other things so far early on throughout the season and things that have, you know, peeked their head out. This Miami Heat team, with all that I've mentioned, even in the wins and the losses with the 5-6 record, they're averaging about 90 points through 3 periods. That was before what they just did in Indy. But they're averaging about 90 points through 3 periods. A team that struggled to crack 100 in 4 quarters in previous years is averaging about 90 points through 3 periods. That's different. With the part-time Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler and the Terry Rozier and a lot of other parts are struggling through it, that's important. So you look at what they did in that Indy win on Friday night, from a defensive and offensive perspective, because people keep wanting to point to, well, you know, you're only scoring 115, 120. Other teams are going to score that every night. No, other teams aren't going to play the defense that the Miami Heat want to play as well. And I think people get conveniently ignorant. So that's what they showed at Indy, and you love to see that. That does not a funk shake. That does not a season make. That does not a team make. But what I will say is this. If you can see them put on a similar type effort or something close and come out of Indy with a win tomorrow on Sunday, as we're recording this on Saturday, the Saturday after the Tyson sham. But if they can come out of Indy with a win on Sunday in a similar fashion, then you have to acknowledge that a shift is beginning, even though you won't, concretely say anything. But you like where you are, and we'll get deep into that conversation as this episode go on. I matched your 5 minutes with the 5 minutes of my own.
Yes, sir, exactly. And I just wanted to say, like, these were all good points from UK because, like, yeah, the record doesn't look beautiful right now, but we're 5-6. Is that correct? Or okay, we're 5-6. And a couple of those losses come from the fact that we just weren't able to figure it out in the third quarter. Now, we had a great game, great third quarter yesterday.
I'm not to cut you off, but you say the third quarter. I'll even look past that, bro. You look at 3 games that we lost them, so you hate to say we should have won. But you look at 3 games where the Miami Heat should have won.
Exactly.
So you looking at, what? Like I said, 5 and 6 right now.
8-3.
Let's say you're looking at 8 and, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. That type of stuff right there. Because to me, and I've always made it clear on this pod, I'm always out here for the statement wins. Like, okay, you lose to a bum team here and there, that's fine. Being able to get a statement wins and go out there against a couple good teams. Yesterday was a good one. I'll say that. And then you have that win against Minnesota. So I'm really
not statement wins, but high impact wins, right? Just a click up on the statement wins, because it's like, whoa, it's eye raising. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Because, like, for me, when I look at it, it's like we could have gotten a good win against New York, but obviously we saw what happened there. Third quarter bug strikes again. Phoenix was another example of that. And, it goes on,
That it goes to that stick to it on defense that I was talking about, that I mentioned, that started to click late in Denver. Because I'm going to tell you, the sequence that killed us in Phoenix, there were 3 back-to-back three-pointers made. And it's kind of indicative of how Phoenix is built. KD made one from the top of the key. He came down, created for Bradley Beal off 3 kicks. He hit one from the right side. And then on the very next possession, Booker hit one from the left corner. And that was it. All the air had sucked out of the building. And it was only like 1:12 left at that point. But again, that stick-to-itiveness, the contesting, the getting out and contesting shots, the running out on everything, the extra efforts that you're seeing now as of Indy game, that last Indy game on Friday, I think those are the culminating results of like all of those things. Even the rebounding effort has increased. Like I said, you notice this in their last game against Detroit specifically. Bam never gave up on a rebound. And it's not like he had been quitting earlier in the season, but he wasn't as aggressive. Like he'd give 1 effort, 2 efforts, get back on D. It's like in Detroit and yesterday in Indy, of course, Friday in Indy, Bam never, like, he kept sticking with the rebounds because he realized that he has to give that effort if everybody else is going to start to drift back, which gives them a chance. But again, I think that's a direct reaction from stuff like the Sacramento game. You know what I mean?
Right. And with all of this being said, like, this team is, like we've been mentioning, they're trying to figure stuff out. And I know some of y'all don't want to see us be too optimistic, because I feel like last year, there was so much going on that y'all saw me and, the whole squad coming up here being like, we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right. And some of y'all might throw that back at us and be like, okay, well, y'all saw how that season ended. And listen, we ain't gonna go into all of that, because
no, that's not fair either, though, Joe. Like guys were banged up, and it's not to say that they would have did anything if they weren't banged up, but you cannot throw a situation out there at me where you got guys in flux, coming in, coming out, guys not being there. Like Tyler Hero had missed a lot of time before it was just him in the playoffs alone because your other guys are hurt. Like, you can't, like, so I mean, again, if you want to try to hold us accountable for being too optimistic at times, I guess, but like last year isn't a good example. But I don't even feel like, even now, I don't feel like we're being overly optimistic. For the most part, I think we're just saying what we're saying. We're acknowledging the record. We're acknowledging that, and I think I said it. We're acknowledging that a loss is a loss, but we also saying what happened. It's like, yo, a rebound here. Like, yo, Bam, stop Durant from getting a free run to the cup. Or Spo, don't call a timeout. Or right. Terry, be fucking aware. I mean, you even speak to Terry Rozier, like, just being uncharacteristically unsure of himself. Like, I've never, and again, he looks like he's starting to shake some off. I'm gonna knock on a little wood because I don't want to jinx him. But I noted it, prior to Indiana. Actually prior to Detroit. And it showed a little bit of Minnesota, maybe it was starting to click. Terry Rozier never looked so unsure of himself. Like, my thing with Terry Rozier in years past, even when he was on other teams, it's like Terry Rozier never saw a shot he ain't like he was going to let it go. And it's like, now I'm looking at Terry like, shoot it. Like, what are we doing? Like, you got, like Terry, be you. But even that, he's starting to shake that off. So, I mean, there, we're being honest, but we're saying what we see.
Right. And I'll say this, like, and this goes back to a point Kevin has mentioned, whether if it's in the group chat or I'll hear him say this on like spaces and on the last pod he was on. Everyone gets mad because they hear about, okay, we're running it back again, we're running it back. And, one thing I know Kev always mentions is that, you can't really say we're running it back because, yeah, we might be bringing back the same guys, but it doesn't mean we're running back everything that we did last year identically. And that's the thing for this year. We're tinkering the offense a bit, and you see that with the way how stuff is going right now. This isn't exactly running it back. We didn't look at what we did from last year and just said, okay, we'll copy that and just paste it into what we do for this 2024-25 season. Like, nah, this is a squad that's trying to figure stuff out right now. And I'm happy to see guys being able to get out what they're dealing with, whether if it's Bam, having a good game against Indiana, and hopefully he keeps that up. Then you look at a guy like Tyler, who we've given his flowers to, has had a good season so far. I see a lot of people saying maybe he can be an all-star this year. We'll wait and see. And then you look at the other guys who are also trying to figure stuff out. And we mentioned Terry Rozier, y'all gotta understand, he was in the slum for like 5 or 6 years in Charlotte, man. I feel bad for him, honestly, because he's been so used to all the nonsense that's going on in there, working with guys who will probably end up getting arrested, like probably after the game ends for.
Chill out, Joe. Chill.
Listen, man,
Chill.
y'all, I don't know what's in that Charlotte water or what's the culture going on over there, but it felt like every day someone was getting in trouble for something, whether if it was Miles Bridges or.
I'm gonna clean it up and put it like this, Joe. Terry Rozier comes from a culture where he wasn't used to being held accountable for winning.
Exactly.
Like, if they lost, they lost. If they won and he had a good game and a good showing, hey, we're gonna go live it up at the club tonight. But if they lost, it didn't matter because they weren't expected to win anything. Whereas here in Miami, you can say what you want about what they're expected to win or not, but what they're expected to do is go out there and compete at a high level and try to win every night.
Exactly. And it's like you go back to his time in Boston, because that was like what? He left there in 2019. So it's been that long since he was last part of like a winning team, a team that's actually trying to, compete for a championship. Because the year before he left, they were just one game away from beating LeBron and the Cavs, and then the following year was kind of like a dumpster fire once Kyrie and Gordon came back. But, he came out there and he was playing very good. And, he became known as what we know him for as Scary Terry. So, it's still there. It's still in him. It's just a matter of what can we do to just bring that out of him? And we're seeing it so far. Like, it's not as promising as some people probably want it to be. I know people were especially fed up with him specifically after that Detroit game because he didn't have like the best shooting night that evening. But still, like, we're still seeing what's what I'm looking for. A bit of, I don't know, a sneak peek of what he's capable of doing. So I know
he's always been kind of streaky, but he's counted on being able to get to his spots in the mid-range, being able to get those little touch layups off and drawing fouls. So I think that what we have to allow for, and this kind of transitions along in the show, I guess, what we have to allow for, and I don't know if I mentioned this on air or it's just been in a group chat, or just, on the social media or whatever. But these guys, to the point of the offense changing, the point was to make it more kinetic. Kinetic means motion. And the point of doing that, from my understanding, was so that you're less predictable. The reason that, guys like Duncan or Terry or even Jimmy or Bam struggle to get off shots, so the offense will bog down and pass, because the defense knew exactly where you were going to be. Even if they, if you ran your sets, you had to run your sets to 100% peak effectiveness in order to get that look, because the defense had seen those, But when you create a motion offense, which is more modern, think Golden State, not only is everybody always in motion, so it doesn't give the defense a chance to get to your spot before you do, but the offense isn't dictated like already. Like when you're running a set, okay, you get to this spot because he's gonna look to pass to you here. But when you're running a kinetic motion offense where everything is constantly fluid, then I'm making a read off the defense and how my opposing, how my teammate is reacting or what I think he's going to do in motion because I'm not trying to get to a spot as much as I'm trying to get through an area fluidly. And when you think about guys like Bam Adebayo, Terry Rozier, even Jimmy Butler, instead of doing what they've traditionally done, which is presenting them with a platform, aka isolation or pick and roll that gets them a matchup, which is basically a secondary isolation. Presenting them with a platform, a steady platform, and then allowing them to go to work in that platform. Now you're asking them to, hey, do your stuff coming off of momentum, coming off of action. In the middle of zig, and I need you to be able to zag. And it's just a little different. And you're seeing a lot of those things. It's not like they're not getting to their spot, so they're not getting up good looks. It's like, you know, the touch might be off. Jimmy might be confused about where he is around the basket because he's not used to getting the shots off there. Bam Adebayo has struggled to figure out how he gets himself going effectively. Do I go to the float first? Do I try to get some at the rim? Do I start with the midi and then work my way down? Terry Rozier, like I said, looks unsure of himself because it's like instead of being able to square everything up, he's now being asked to do all of these things inside of chaos, control chaos. But, you know, it's a beautiful situation because once they figure it out, you know, Indiana, we've seen how it can look. Haywood Highsmith had had 3 baskets yesterday before Indiana play across half court.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's coming across right now. And, you know, I don't want to keep talking about, like, okay, you know what, this team might win a championship and stuff because I did that old last year. And
11 games, Joe. Easy.
Listen, but, like, I'm going to just say this. If they do, as you mentioned, figure it out, like, what this team could do, I'm not even going to speak it out just yet because like you mentioned, 11 more games left. But geez,
no, we're 11 games in, fool.
I mean, I'm sorry, man. I'm a little too eager, y'all. 11 games in, but like, listen,
dog, you jousting for playoff position. Let's cool it.
I know. But like, I could see this team do something exciting this year once everything is figured out because. Like you mentioned, Kay, at one point, it's like, and it wasn't, I mean, you've mentioned this a lot. Like, we were a bad team on offense last year. And it's like, as long as we're not even bad, but we're just like in the middle of the pack, you know?
Just be average.
Exactly. You know, like, don't be bottom 30. Just be in the, you know, top 15. That's all we asking for. Like, if you're
just be 10 to 20. Be somewhere 10 to 20. You ain't got to be top 15. Exactly. You can be 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20. Just don't be 30th.
Exactly. You know, and like, we're going to be fine. And it's like, I could see this team going out there and doing something special. I won't say what it is because I used to put it in my, you know, headline,
right,
you know, all last season. But
and as I've done so often in the show, I'm going to clean it up for Joe. What he's saying, people, is this. You like where this Miami Heat team is going. Traditionally, you know the defense is going to catch up with the offense. If what they're hoping to do on offense continues to flow the way it is, then they do have a chance to do something, especially when you consider the fact that the East isn't that strong at all. And as I've been telling these guys in our group chat, of course, I've said it every chance I got to publicly, whether again on socials, again on here, the East just isn't that strong. And I've been saying that since before the season. If you look at it, it's wide open. You can say what you want about the Celtics, but clearly the Celtics can be had, and if they can be had by anybody, it's been the Miami Heat traditionally over the last 4 or 5 years throughout this era. So for me, they have never scared me as much as they've scared everybody else, Miami Heat fans included. You look at the Cavaliers, they're going to have to show you that they can do that all year long, and then when the postseason comes. I mean, what they got going on over there right now looks special, but, they're going to have to continue to show that. And at the end of the day, you only had to play the team out west one time for 7 games. You got one series, so you ain't got to worry about the bloodbath that's going on out there. You hope that they maul each other for the rest of the season, so that by the time that whoever gets to you, it's mincemeat. But again, if you're the Miami Heat and you're not bottom third in offense and you're yourself on defense, then you don't care who comes out of the West because you're going to give yourself a chance to compete with anybody. Right now, you just got to worry about not being in the play-in, having everybody healthy, staying sharp, continuing to work out the tweaks in this offense, make sure that you can get Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero going at the same time, and continue to let these role players. Oh my gosh, shout out to Miami Heat role players. I told you this before the beginning of the season too. I told everybody as much as I can, this Miami Heat team is so deep. Like the depth on this Miami Heat team is crazy. You don't know who's going to play from night to night. And we find ourselves more frustrated this season than any other about guys that aren't playing because there are so many quality guys that can play. I'm going to give you a good example. Somebody asked last night, why is Jay Rich playing over Pell? I wouldn't mind Pell playing, but I don't mind Jay Rich playing either because Jay Rich has the trust of Spo. He knows where things are going to be. Like what Pell can't do to Jay Rich can do is the little pocket pass. They get Bam let him go off friggity in the lane, stuff like that. But like these are good questions because we're not asking them for a guy that's been completely and totally ineffective for all of his time on the floor. Jay Rich hit some big threes last night, by the way. Shout out to Jay Rich. But what I'm saying is just like we're asking, these are good questions. Other things that I said before the season, I told you that rookie was going to force Spo to break that thing because he's too good and we need what he can do. Even if he's raw, you can't teach that type of athleticism at 7 foot. And another thing, the boy can hit that 3 ball. And I ain't saying that mean he gonna shoot 2 or 3 a game, but if he just shoot 1 and nail 1 every other game and do what he do other than that, which is run, jump, block shots, rebound, and dunk, worth its weight in gold. So look, man, we're not being optimistic. We saying what we see. This Miami Heat team is 5-6 right now. The season is young. They're still figuring things out. Tyler Hero's playing some of the best ball of his life. Joel hating on him a little bit, but he's still playing some of the best ball of his life, but he got to keep going.
Yeah.
Something is clicked. I will say that. Something is clicked. He's bought in because it isn't just the scoring. Like the way he's creating for his team, the way he's manipulating defenses, the decisions he's making, I got to get a boy credit.
Exactly.
He's playing stronger. He's playing bigger. He's playing faster. He's being more decisive. He's getting to the cup at will. And I mean, the way he's like, but keep going. That's all we ask. And if he keep going, he probably will get the All-Star nod. Because as of now, he's been the Miami Heat's best and most consistent player. What you saw him do in Detroit the other night, you went to sleep on 2 minutes of absolute glory, my friend. I mean,
yeah, like it was
when Tyler Hero is Tyler Hero, he's Tyler Hero.
Yep. Like
so
the dude is literally, by the way, in case y'all don't know, the NBA Central tweeted out like a whole thing of who's leading each draft class for most points per game this season. And if you look at the 2019 draft class, Tyler Hero is leading that right now. And I know some guys are injured right now. You look at the Jaws and the Zions right now, what they're going through. But that's still pretty impressive.
But I mean, availability is the best ability, right?
Yeah. So like to see him out there.
Ja and Zion are better players at their peaks.
Yeah,
that's what the eye test tells you. But I don't care how high you can jump if you can't get on the floor.
Because that's the thing, and like you look at what Tyler has done this so far, and I'm excited to see what he does and what could happen deeper into the season and a playoff run, because I know he's had the injuries and stuff, but nobody I think has been through the fire the way how he has too, because you see what he's been through. First season, you went to the finals with LeBron on the other end of the court. That right there is an impressive thing to be part of in your rookie season. And then you look at everything since then. And while it hasn't been accomplishment after accomplishment in the postseason, because we saw what happened 2021, even though that was a fugazi year, 2022, and then so on, it's like you still see him growing more as a player. So I'm excited to see what more he could do. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, mainly because I still try to, not want to overexcite myself, which is why you don't even hear me talking about the Heat doing bigger things this season if they figure it out. But Tyler, I'm very happy for. I'm very excited to see what more he can do for the squad. And when I look at this Miami Heat team as a whole, Spo will have some questions to answer. And it's a great situation to be in. And you mentioned it yourself, Kay, the fact that there's so much guys you could give minutes to. Because we talk about, how come Jay Rich is playing over Pell? And then I hear some guys talking about some of the other dudes who stepped up, whether if it's a guy like an Alec Burks. Some people have been impressed by his shooting, and I see people ask, well, if we still haven't gotten a bucket yet, put him in the game and stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of questions that I know fans have as to who should get minutes over who. And I do want to ask this quick question to you, K, because now I see people throwing it on a TL a lot. Would you change the starting five the way how it is right now? Because there is one guy we've mentioned. I know some people are saying to put on the bench. I won't mention it. I don't know if you've seen it too, but I just want to know: is there any lineup change you would do? Because
Yeah,
I
I've been there, but
yeah.
I had the wrong guy. I mean, we're talking about Terry Rozier, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, I didn't want to mention the name because I didn't know if that
Right.
was
I mean, no, it's okay. We're having real conversation because
yeah,
whoever that six is, as we've talked about with Tyler in the past, they're gonna get a starter's amount of minutes.
exactly.
But we thought it was Tyler. We thought it was Tyler, that we were gonna have coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But and it's not, and here's the crazy part about it. It's Tyler starting right now because Tyler is the better player right now. We thought that Terry was going to be the better player with the starting unit, but Tyler looks to be the better player with the starting unit, especially with his increased passing ability and his ability to perfectly throw a lob out of nowhere suddenly. But the key factor isn't really Tyler or Terry. The key factor is Duncan. The mere fact is, it's not that you have to get Terry or Tyler to the bench so bad. You need to find a way to get Duncan in the game because he's back. He's back. The gravity is real. And what he does for Bam's game is so important. So it's just Duncan. Like, it's not Tyree or it's not, Tyler or Terry, so to speak. But Tyler's playing better. And what we've said, we've praised him so much in this episode before. Of course, it's him. And you just get Duncan back in that starting lineup. And that probably helps Terry because that gives him more freedom to be able to do that ISO stuff that makes him so good in the second unit. But again, he's still going to get 25, 26, 27, 28 minutes a night because, that's six man for us, as we've talked about with Tyler in previous years for so long, it's just a six starter.
Exactly. And I don't think we even have to worry about issues because I remember last year we was like, okay, well, if Tyler comes off,
I think that's what I'm not to cut you off, but that's what I meant about Tyler. I think he's bought in, and I think that was whether he has been playing as well or not. I think he's playing as well because he's bought in. Yeah. But I don't think that'll be a problem with Terry.
Oh yeah, nah, because this was a guy who last year made it clear I don't want to step on anyone's toes, and it made us angry because we knew what he was capable of in Charlotte, and it's like, okay, we get it, you don't want to step on any toes, but we know what you're capable of. Go out there and do some of that, and it annoyed some people because it's like, just don't be that shy, do your thing, bro. So it's like now we kind of need you to not step on any of the toes, and maybe just come to the bench because that second unit, you got a guy like Terry cooking. You're going to have Jaime coming off the bench and all them. We have so much experience.
You got Jaime, you got Nico, you got Kelly Ware, you got Kel that you can get some, you got Alec Burks that you can get some time. And see, here's the thing, and I know people hate this dude, but I'm going to tell you what. Even look at the big man depth. If the Miami Heat get in foul trouble, they're not forced to go small after two rotations. Mm-hmm. They got three bigs that they can play. Thomas Bryant, you don't want to play in 20 minutes a game. But if you got Thomas Bryant to be able to throw in there for 5-6 minutes because you need to get Bam a break because Kelly and drew 3 fouls or because Nico knows hurt. I mean, it's like, I'm just saying, bro, we got to look at the things that they've tried to do and what they're trying to do and what they also have done. Like I said, those 3 games that we've talked about, they're going to be the bane of our existence, especially early on here. But they were winnable games, and even though the Miami Heat lost them, it's the bounce of a ball sometime, and you're literally talking about the bounce of a ball. Listen, the Miami Heat haven't been good all year as far as securing the ends of defensive possessions, getting the boards or whatever, but the ball bounced right to Sabonis. He flipped it up while falling down, and it went in, man. It happens. It hurt, but it happens, and like I said, what we've seen since then is them grow from that. I know we're coming to the end here. I like to push it forward. The Miami Heat have Indiana on Sunday and Philly on Monday, which is a back-to-back. And I was going to harp a little bit about the Miami Heat being off for 6 whole days after the Philly game. But in light of the fact that they did play Friday and they're playing Sunday and then a back-to-back on Monday, I guess I can't be too hard on that. considering the NBA's emphasis on trying to lighten the load on these guys' body as far as back-to-backs, travels, consistent games, stuff like that. Just to, what the load that they're putting on the Show Pony product. It's like, they're trying to help take care of these guys. Also minimize forced load management. I guess they say if they build in rest into the schedule, you don't have no excuse to not play this guy when we trying to sell this product. So I'm not going to harp on it too much, man, but I guess I do want to talk a little bit about the games. I've kind of said how I felt about Indy. I feel like this Miami Heat team has found something, or they're finding something, and they don't have to play as well as they played on Friday, but if they can just, like I said, be equal, not be terrible. I like them in Indy on Sunday as well. I like the sweep. What's up, man? What you got?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not easy. I hate it whenever they do these back-to-back games against the same team, because they're going to have more momentum to at least try to take one of the two. So if they lose that first game, you can expect them to come back and try to win it the second time around. But for me personally, I think the Heat are focused right now. And it's like, I hope, my assumption is that you're just going to work with what you got right now, build off of that, and go out there and win a second game against Indiana. Because, listen, regardless of how you feel of how they made it last year, this was still a team that made it to the conference finals last year. So if you're able to go on their turf is this going to be an in-season tournament game too, or is it just still, regardless, like an important regular season game against them. They don't want to lose 2 in a row on their home court like that. Go on there and show them what you're capable of.
And after we snatched their cookies last game too, I mean, we just debunked my chain punk.
That was an important game. You talking about the money that's on the line for this in-season tournament. We went and snatched, I think, how much we beat them by? It was like, what, 13, I think?
I think it was more than that. Keep talking.
Because, the reason I asked is because, they got this whole point differential thing now with the tournament. So, that's also a big L for them, because at least when we lost to Detroit, that was only by 1 point. Well, no, 2 points, I think, right? So, that's not much, because
Okay, you're right. We was only 13, but either way.
Yeah, so, because now those 13 points help cancel out those -2 points we got against Detroit, where we're now plus 11 now, if my math ain't wrong. So, because of that,
I'm going to the standings right now.
All right, thank you. So all of that being said, go out there, show what you're capable of, because then the game after that, you got the 76ers. And all I'm going to say is this: I need Bam to go out there and show why we always said that he was the third best center in the NBA. You're playing against Joel Embiid, man. And listen, he might be a little rusty. I know a lot's been going on with him. He's injured, and if he's not getting injured, he's beating up reporters. It's a whole thing right now. But listen, go out there and show why you're the third best center in the NBA by bowling out against a guy who is, the second best center in the league. I won't put him first above Jokic, because Jokic is an alien. But, regardless, it's Joel Embiid, man. Especially because you got people thinking that him spending the whole summer with Embiid is what messed his game up. So get your revenge on him, whether if it is his fault or not. All right? So go out there, have a good game, and let's keep the wins going, man, because I feel like we haven't had too much of a positive record post-pods. So, I need us to start breaking down more wins now. You know what I'm saying? Because only wins we got was that good win against Minnesota, that good win against Indiana. I need more for us to break down in these episodes for my pause and for y'all's Biscayne breakdowns too. Because if I have to hear Deem or Alex come on either show and they talking mad nasty about this team, or Alex come on Biscayne breakdown and do a whole segment on how the Heat should trade Jimmy to Houston because Tari Eason would be a good asset for us, I don't know, man. I might have to cancel this pod. I know I was probably bluffing when I said it last year if Tyler was still on the team, but I might have to be serious with it, because where our program go at this point, K? Where our program go if we do dedicated minutes to how trading Jimmy for Jonathan Kuminga is probably going to be good for us and good for Golden State. I didn't sign up for none of this stuff, all right? So,
but see, the thing about it is, if you'll notice, man, I entertain it and I had those conversations just for the sake of having the conversations. But I will say this, and we love them, our brothers, Deem, Alex, our brothers. However, you notice the praise or the group chat is never as loud after a win as it is when they're saying some nonsensical stuff after a loss. It's
They-
sports, man. 82 games. 82 games. It's sports. Loss is going to happen. But you got to get off the trade machine, social media, frenzy, doomsday wagon. Because, like, you don't get to let go of the rope. You don't get to let go of the rope and then pick the rope back up when things are going good. Like, I'm sick of that. You don't get to do that here. That's not what we do. But to that point that you were making earlier about point differentials in the tournament on the NBA Cup, right now, East Group B, which is the Miami Heat group, of course, consisting of Detroit, Milwaukee, Miami, Indiana, and Toronto. Detroit sits at 2-0 with a point differential of +4. Milwaukee is 1-0 with a point differential of 14. Miami is 1-1 with a point differential of 13. Indiana 0-1 with a point differential of -13. Toronto 0-2 with a point differential of -18. They're out of it. But I'll say this: when you look at Milwaukee, their next game, which will only be their second NBA Cup game, them and Indiana only having playing one already. When you look at their next Cup game, it's versus Indiana, who took a L versus us on Friday in their first game, and with a massive point differential. I mean, not massive, but a pretty good 13 points. You know what I'm saying? So what I said all that to say, that's good for us because it probably will give us the opportunity. And Detroit also faces Indiana, who, you know what I mean? Again, will be looking to bounce back, but it gives us the opportunity to pull back on Detroit and Milwaukee, but also hopefully a chance for them to close that gap. Because when you look at our remaining schedule, of course, Milwaukee is game 3, but Milwaukee's pool. Let's take a little moment to doo-doo on Milwaukee for a second.
Listen, God don't play with me or my team. God don't play with me or my team. All y'all gonna get what's coming to y'all. Milwaukee, you think we forgot about y'all? Y'all talking about y'all want to make some trades now, right? You got Brian Windhorst saying Milwaukee gonna make trades. Y'all made y'all trade on September 27th, 2023. Y'all
got the date. He got
y'all
the date.
went and made y'all deal with the devil to think y'all was gonna win a championship. So y'all go work with that.
Hey, you think Joe Cronin writing out his resume in his Moleskine notebook? You think he updating his resume?
Dayton's second greatest soldier? Of course he is. Shout outs to him, by the way, Mr. King Von II. All right, listen. You know what? Let me tell y'all something. When was Joe Cronin even hired? Because King Von passed away in 2020, right? So wait, how long ago after his passing did Joe Cronin take control?
Chill, man.
Maybe that's like a reincarnation of some sort. I don't know. So now
you don't believe. Remember, that's your native people that believe in reincarnation. You Christian.
Yeah, but you see, because the devil kind of messed up. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing.
Anyway, man, how's DeAndre Ayton doing this season?
Terrible, because God don't play with me and my team. Same thing go with listen. I don't care what the Suns is doing.
I'm done throwing you softballs, man. I'm done throwing you softballs. I'm done. All right, NBA Cup. Look, like I said, man, I like the Miami Heat's chances. Indiana plays Detroit and Milwaukee in the next 2 games. Should be looking to bounce back from what was a big loss for them in their first NBA Cup game. So that bodes well for the Miami Heat's opportunities. Again, that second game of a back-to-back, which is on Monday against Philly. Look, man, Philly's not that good either. They're banged up. Is Joel gonna play? Is PG gonna play? We're not gonna let Jared McCain. Is that his name? Jared McCain, whatever his name is, the rookie from Duke. He's not gonna come in and get all friggity on the Miami Heat. I just can't see it. I can't see it. Not knowing what he has done, I can't see Spo being ill prepared for the opportunity that this rookie could come and continue to do what he's done thus far on you. I can't see that. So I like the chances in Milwaukee. Again, man, I want to play Milwaukee, don't I? I like their chances against Philadelphia as well in the Monday game following the Sunday game against Indiana. So look, man, two wins in the next 2 days for me. And I'm not being overly optimistic. I'm saying what I see, brother. Exactly. How about you?
Yeah, I see the same thing as well. Caleb Martin, shout outs to him being one of the biggest acquisitions for the Sixers, man. Went over there to compete for.
Let's not do that to Twin, but I got you.
I'm sorry, but I heard some of them stuff going, them comments he made over the summer, and you know what? Go have yourself a year, man. What was it? 32 million you making? Could have made some more with the Heat, right? Shout outs to his agent, man. That's the real MVP right there. So you come to Miami, man. I'm excited to see what you gonna do in your first game against the Heat. All right, Mr. Bag Chaser Caleb Martin. So you go come over here and you do your thing because I'm gonna be excited watching that game and see what you end up doing because that black magic or whatever people was claiming we had, you ain't gonna have that by your side, my guy. You ain't gonna have Spo being able to utilize you the way how he was able to utilize you in the past. The reason why you was even able to get a bag in the first place. None of that was gonna happen now. But all of that being said, man, I'm focused on the squad we got right now. And listen, we might have a chance to do something special this year. Be patient, you guys, because there's still a lot of hoops left to be played. 71 more games to be exact. So take a deep breath, do what you got to do, and let's go. If God is willing, win a championship. All right? Take a deep breath, relax, and let's go get these 2 more wins and then enjoy these 6 days off because hopefully Jimmy will be healed up. We'll see what happens.
And that's important too. If he doesn't come back at some point across these 2 games, what that 6 games does give you is an opportunity for Jimmy Butler to get himself back in the lineup.
Yo, because I don't know what's been going on. I know it's been a lot, especially because he got a whole off season. So obviously something hasn't been completely right with his knees. So just give my guy some time and then we'll go from there.
He tweaked both of his ankles the other night at the same time, for crying out loud.
No, because that's the thing too. But then I get so worried when I saw that Ira Winderman tweet when it was like, something he was dealing with before, like going into the season. So I don't know too much.
Okay. Fair enough.
But listen, man, we gonna be all right. We gonna be square. Jimmy gonna come back being Jimmy. God will work through him. All right. So I'm putting all my faith in God. Gonna say a couple prayers here and there for Jimmy, his knee, and this whole squad, and his ankle, and we gonna go from there. Aside from that, any final words before we wrap this up, kid?
Yeah, man, whatever it is. I mean, the leg, ankle, calf, the lower extremity. Bless his whole both legs, Jesus. Bless them both, Jesus. Touch them, Jesus.
Wrap the brother.
Touch them.
Wrap him in bubble wrap just for me because I get too scared whenever that brother hits the court. Not that he's injury prone, but more so me needing that brother to be healthy.
Also, though, man, Jimmy don't know how to play but one way, and the way he plays is just, you know what I'm saying? Like exactly. Jimmy, that's just the way he plays. He can't be effective if he's not being semi-reckless. And when I say that, it's like because he got to make the hard drives. He got to throw his body around. He got to, expect the contact when he's, going up for the layup. That's why he's one of the most oppressive and aggressive free throw shooters that we've seen, in our time or whatever. So it's, that's just the way he played. But I agree. You hold your breath, collective gas every time you go up and hit the ground, and you hope he gets back up and everything is working like it's supposed to. But more importantly, man, we just got to get him back in the lineup with what we seeing. Tyler Herro, keep being Tyler Herro. Hope Bam is shaking the funk. Hope, Terry Rozier is done as well. The depth, keep on depthing. Shout out Hambo. That boy is growing every day. Definitely going to be a 20-point scorer in this league. Shout out the other young guys. Keller, love what you're doing. Dunking his bike. He's shooting that thing. I mean, look, man, I'm optimal realist. We've seen some good things. The Miami Heat offense is offensing. It's developing. It's actually making strides. Like I said, those are facts that I've spoken. Like those aren't made up things, not hyperbole. That's progression. Like if you're looking at that and saying, hey, that's not different, that's not improvement, then you're fooling yourself. You just want something to complain about. Is it perfect? Is it right? Is it where we want it to be? Is it where it's going to be at the end of the season? Is it where it needs to be in order to go win a title? No. But it takes, time, especially when you're changing a lot of things, especially when you're dealing with, some volatility from a production or injury perspective, however you want to look at it, when you're talking Bam's funk that I mentioned so many times, or Terry Rozier's funk, and then Jimmy not being in the lineup, as we mentioned. But they're going to get right. They're going to get right.
Exactly. So we've talked about a lot in today's episode. And before we wrap it up, man, so shout outs to this squad. We going to get it done, man. We'll figure it out some way, somehow. We've talked about it this whole episode. And we're going to talk about it more throughout the season. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Make sure to follow the pod on all platforms, HVTW Podcast. Make sure to follow K on Twitter or X, whatever y'all call that thing, at K_said_K, JOELQUE. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. And man, we got so much content heading your way. Because speaking of Biscayne Breakdown should be coming back very soon with a brand new episode to start off the season. So be on the lookout for him.
We're gonna try to hit him Tuesday after the game if you're available. But I know you got some couple things going on with your schedule. But we'll talk. We're gonna get back to y'all soon, people. I promise.
Yes, sir. But aside from that, man, take a deep breath. Let's enjoy this season because good things, if God is willing, are definitely gonna be ahead. So aside from that, man, hit my music because we out.
behind my back.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat versus the World podcast.